Hey there, it's Pete over at the Sampleist, and on this spooky and stormy Halloween evening, we are checking out the ASTS Sound Design Horror Bundle. ASTS Sound Design stands for A Score to Settle Sound Design, and the company was set up by three heavyweight composers, James F. Brown III, Grant Borland and Jake Dijak. By heavyweight, I'm talking about the fact they've had lots of success across trailers, TV spots, composing, customs, underscore, you name it, these guys have done it. And of course, they know a thing or two about custom sound design. The Horror Bundle contains three libraries, Hades, Abandoned and Hellscrape. And these are all WAV files, but there are hundreds of files spanning so many different categories. You have everything you need to create these unsettling and frankly wonderful horror-themed compositions. All audio files are recorded at 24-bit 48 kilohertz resolution, and they require roughly 2 gigabytes of disk space to download. They download through the Pulse downloader, and they are on sale for $50. In this video, we are going to check out the different libraries and see what kind of sounds they contain, and then I've thrown them into a composition using some footage that I found a very, very long time ago in the wilderness in a log cabin somewhere. I don't know. I found it and it's quite spooky. I'd like to take the opportunity to thank ASTS Sound Design for sending over their horror bundle so I could make this video. While we do get the libraries for free, of course it does not influence our thoughts, ideas or any judgments about the libraries. But I will say you're in for an absolute treat if you love horror themed sound effects. Without further ado, let's just jump straight in. Welcome to the overview section of the video, where we're going to check out the different categories and of course the sounds contained within Abandoned, Hades and Hellscrape, which make up the ASTS Sound Design Horror Bundle. Before I go any further, when you work with audio files, everyone has a different system. You might audition them, then drag them straight into your project, or you might use a third-party piece of software. I use Complete Control because you can go through all the different folders and you can audition the sounds and drag them directly into your project. So for this video, I'm going to go through the folders and I'm going to rely on the previews to play and trigger the sound so you see what is contained within the different libraries. So that out of the way, let's start off with Abandoned. So go into the folders, got samples, and we have all of these different categories. Got bass, we've got breaks and cracks, got cello design, cigar box guitar, creepers, downers, drones, hits, piano design, risers, signature sounds, swells and sweeps, and ticks. So I'm not going to play obviously every single sound, but you'll get how this works. If I go into the bass and just click on one, it will trigger the sample for us. And where they're tonal, it will tell us the name of the key. Very, very useful. So that's bass. If we go into breaks and cracks, lovely. Cello design. Some ricochets there. Scrapes. Tremolos. Cigar box guitar. Sounds a bit like The Grudge. Yeah. Brilliant. And then creepers. Some downers. I just love these sounds. Drones. Very subtle and eerie. Beautiful. There's some hits. So you can hear everything is really, really clean and really well designed. And there's not too much reverb or effect going on. So I have obviously composed using these, and using them in the mix, they do sound absolutely wonderful. Some great piano sounds there. Got some risers. I love that release. This is a Chaos riser. They've got signature sounds. Love the stereo effect there. Creepy. And these are swells and sweeps. Then we have some ticks. And these give us the tempo, so when you do put them into your project, you can obviously play around with the audio stretch if you need to make it fit. But I love the sounds. Now that is abandoned, so let's just go back and look at Hades. Okay, so we have cluster plucks. And in here you got Blast Bows hits, miscellaneous scrapes and drags, and strange plucks. So let's just check some of these out. Let's go for some bows. Some hits. Miscellaneous. So I love the detail in the sounds. Very, very cool. So this cello scrape is going to prove that for me. You could just hear the bow on the string just scraping away. They got string plucks. So atmospheric. And we've got piano. So lots of different types of piano unbecoming. Yeah. So there's obviously unbecoming, undeserved, unresolved, and unwelcomed. They sound great, don't they? Signatures. So you can hear the sounds are just, yeah, wonderful. And then of course the component parts are broken down. So the last hit I played, I think it was a Kraken hit. And if I play the full mix again, you can have all of these component parts individually as well. So there's our boom, dumpster hit, impact, piano hit, spring, and trash can. And then the full mix of that is there for you. So it's brilliant that you got all of these just broken down for you. Okay. And they've got string risers. Again, the releases are fantastic. It doesn't just randomly stop or blip out. They've got the reverb tail, and yeah, they sound great. And now we're in the voices. These creatures are brilliant. Does remind me, a long time ago, I was doing a horror project and I sampled my dog telling the postman and just sleeping, and it's fairly horrific. Good stuff. So that was Hades, and then we're on to Hellscrape. So let's just go straight in. So we got Banshees, which are twisted designs, Hellscrape extras, Infernal Tundras, which are horror drones, of Broken Will, which are scary strings, and then we got Seventh Circle, Brooding Impacts. So let's go from here. Twisted Designs, Ghoul Scream. It's like a vacuum. Hellscrape extras. Then we'll take a quick peek at some drones. Let's go turn the preview off. Now, this is a good example. If I double click on the drone, you can see the drones aren't just continuous sounds sometimes, or just, I mean, sometimes they do just oscillate in the background, but you can see these have like peaks and troughs in them. So there's like a more continuous one. And then we got these more, I'm trying to think, more episodal drones, I'm going to say. Now, in my composition, I did use one of these because, again, this is a great example of that the sound design is incredible and it's wonderful, and there's sounds that you probably could not imagine in this library, and they are here. But when you start using these drones, they can actually carry you into different directions and just create different moments in your composition. So it really is worth checking these out. I'm just going to play one more. And it's still going. Really cool stuff. Right, scary stings. I think I said scary strings. That's just my eyes playing up. Deceiving me, if you will. Like really rich sound design. These are full sounds. A True Death. This is the Brooding Impacts. Amazing. So that is the 3 libraries in the ASTS Sound Design Horror Collection, and it is a brief overview. Now, I've put these together in a composition, and obviously I'm only using ASTS Sound Design samples from these 3 libraries. And yeah, check it out and just see what you think about the sound quality. I've tried to use varied samples. So we've got some rhythmic stuff, we've got some drone based things, and then of course we have one shots and creepy tension, risers. When I say the sound quality, I mean everything when it's put together, because one thing I found with this library, or these libraries across the board, while there is a small amount of processing, sometimes a lot of the samples are quite dry. So when you're working with them, you got like the TikToks are dry, so they stand out from the crowd. The drones are quite processed, so they just create this amazing thickness and texture. So in terms of sound quality, it's how does it all gel together. So without further ado, let's check out the composition, and then we're going to talk all about it. And there we have my spine-chilling, unsettling, psychological horror composition based upon the delightful found footage that I discovered while going on a road trip with my friends to a log cabin probably a while ago. That's how these things happen. I love horror scoring, just creating these psychological dramas through the score and just all these unsettling sounds. And I love order when I compose. I like everything being sectional and counted out and being rhythmic and beautiful. And horror scoring is kind of the opposite of that. You want everything to be disjointed, unsettled, have sounds coming in from all over the place. And it is a real art, and it is something that I do dedicate quite a large amount of time working on. But really, horror scoring, it's just a lot of fun. If you don't do it, try it. And what makes it even more fun are these ASTS Sound Design libraries. So Abandoned, Hades and Hellscape all working together to create these really unique textures and jump scares and just everything being unsettled. The sound design is amazing. And remember, the three guys behind this are all industry professionals with lots of different placements, and it really shows these are sounds that you can trust to just make everything sound even more horrific. So like I say, the sound design is spot on. Now, going through my composition, you can see I've used all of these samples. We've got the video at the top, and I was labeling everything, but it did kind of go wrong because I was having so much fun just throwing things in. And you can see if I zoom in the samples that I've used. Now it starts off with a moon, and all I wanted is just a nice scene setter. Brilliant. So I'm using some of the individual stems. I love the fact we have these combined sounds stemmed off if we want to. And there's a great sub that I did use quite a lot, just generally through. Just really sets the tone. And I love bowed metals, and we got a piano sound going on, and yeah. And then of course I try and have an accent on the different hits. So this is why I'm not really on the grid. Sorry, not different hits, on scene changes. So you can see here. Generally syncs up really, really well. Okay, so we have a riser, and it's a very creepy riser. And something I love about these libraries as well is they're not over processed at all. You've got some sounds that obviously they're sound designed, so there's going to be effects on them. Things like the strings, for example, are really, really dry. And when you combine them and you get this kind of effect, there's some superb clarity. Now, this young lady who's hanging out by the side of the road in a white dress, not having the best day probably, I just decided to go a little bit rhythmic. So we've got our hits, and then I'm using alternate string plucks. Okay, so if I just isolate those, now this is where you don't really need a ton of round robins, for example. I'm just using 2 string plucks alternated. That sounds great. And then this one here, I just like the sound of it. It's kind of like a little bit weaker. So I'm just going to bring her back in. It just sounds very ominous. So there we go. But building up little rhythms like that is really, really useful. And of course there is rhythmical content as well, but it's really nice just to use the samples. And really I'll just shorten the sample and put a fade out on each of those. Now we move away from her because she doesn't like us. I did forget to unmute. Now this is where I just start having a lot of fun, and I just start throwing different samples on the same track. Okay, so our crystal ball lady. Now, a couple of things going on. I love these drones, which they just... they could do a lot of the atmospheric work for you. So we've got persistent winds, and then we have got merry-go-round. Now, on here, I've used one of my tricks where I've just chopped up and created a glitch effect. And if you don't put a tiny fade out on, you get, let's go and do that, you get a sort of static effect. But I kind of like that, so I left it in. But a quite cool tip when you're working with audio, if you just do a tiny fade in and out, don't need it on there, so you will lose that static. Quite handy. I didn't do it on that one. I'm going to leave it there, actually. So when you combine it and we have the merry-go-round underneath, it does create this really cool, like, glitchy. And then here, I love the fact that the sound just goes completely dead. It's beautiful. It's like a vacuum. And again, it just shows that the sounds are not over-processed. So that little section was really just letting these two, pestilent winds and merry-go-round, just doing everything. And then we've got our dude in the mask. I think it, yeah. I mean, it's a demonic entity, probably. I don't know. He may have kind eyes. I'm not sure. But anyway, just using the great riser content again, and a few just eerie sounds like the abandoned guitar creaking and the cello effects. But again, all of these combined just to create something beautiful. And then it all starts to kick off. So our young friend here, no? Yep, I don't know what I'm doing there. So, I mean, I do know what I'm doing. Just talking nonsense now. Our young friend here. Not having the best day. And this is where I'm using some of the rhythmical content of the library. So we have these ticks. I love using clocks and ticks. And they're so, like I say, clean. So they cut through the other sounds. So we've got quite a lot going on there. We've got another drone. In fact, this drone, I love how they just sort of sweep in and out. Just goes till the end. So we've got our hits again. Got some clicks. Then this creepy guy appears at the door. Don't know what his vibe is, but everything goes a little bit calmer. Now we've got this ghoul scream, and it is quite high up in the mix. So I wanted something a bit more dramatic, and it fills in a little bit of the hole when the drone comes out. And then it ends when he drags her away. Or drags someone away. It could be someone different. I don't know. I mean, the video is a little bit bizarre, isn't it? But yeah, using more rhythmical parts, risers, just creating a wall of sound. And things, you know, things went down in that video. Bad things happened. But you can just see the end synced beautifully. And that tail is in the sample as well. It's not external reverb. And that's it. Found footage scored. So it is like a whistle-stop tour of what I've used, but this is the fun. I've used, I don't know, in terms of sounds, so I repeated some sounds. I've probably used about 10%, if that, across the 3 libraries, 5% maybe. I don't know. There are so many samples and different WAV files you can choose from. You could go in any different direction you want and just keep throwing in different sounds and moving around and dragging them around. And you're just going to keep coming up with intense horror scoring. And it's just a joy to use. So ASTS Sound Design, the horror bundle is just wonderful. This is the closing thoughts section of the video, and my closing thoughts about the ASTS Sound Design horror bundle are as follows. What can I say? The sound design is incredible. And I'm not just talking about the fact it's really, really well done and the fact all the samples are very usable. It's also the sheer range of sounds that these 3 libraries contain. So we're talking $50 for 2 gigabytes. But these sounds, I wouldn't even imagine what a lot of these sounds are. Like if I was composing or doing a horror composition, I wouldn't start thinking, oh, I want to find a sound like that. They are here ready-made for you. The sound designers are thinking outside of the box. They're creating unique sounds that are going to give you such edge and individuality when it comes to composing. And of course, you can further manipulate them if you want to. I did some very light editing just on some tails and things to make it easier to compose with, but I kept everything in the box. I didn't really use external effects at all. I just thought, as a toolkit, everything was ready to go. But it creates just brilliant compositions, as in, I didn't set out to, you know, go in one direction or the other. Just as I was working through the sounds, it just sent me off down different avenues. And I found that really, really interesting. And like I say, they're just a joy to work with. They're so well made, so well edited. They're just good to go. For me, if you're a horror scorer or a video game scorer, pick these up. They're an absolute bargain, but also the quality is absolutely spot on. All that leaves me to say is thank you so much to ASTS Sound Design for sending over the 3 libraries in their horror bundle so I can make this video on this stormy Halloween day. I hope you have a great evening and compose lots and lots of spooky music. If you like what you heard, please leave a like on the video, and of course drop us a comment. What do you like about these sounds and how would you use them? Maybe you've bought them already and you've used them in lots of compositions, you want to point us towards them, that'd be amazing. If you're not done so already, please check out our other videos on YouTube, and of course subscribe to our ever-growing channel. Once you've done that, pop over to the Sampleist.com to learn a little bit more about us, and then have a deliciously spooky evening. Take care, and we'll speak again soon.